We're here on March 10th, 2016. It's Charlie Atkinson at the world headquarters of the Whole Brain Foundation. And we just had a lovely dinner and a lovely conversation that Tyler Richard has put together. And we're talking about starting out with a possible project. And what's the general story about this project?
So this project would be to design a course for a professor at the Harvard Business School that would then be taught in the college here at Harvard. And the idea would be to use the case method model of using case studies on real estate that this professor has spent his career drafting and composing, and to use these as the basis for a course that would not only interest undergraduates, but also excite them and outfit them with a set of skills that they would see as very relevant for the rest of their time at Harvard and beyond. And so the project would be working with the Whole Brain Foundation, would be to think about how to model this curriculum using the Atkins protocol.
Excellent. I had not realized that it was going to be an undergraduate course. Mm-hmm. You had mentioned briefly that your professor wanted to make this class be a world beater, something that would really excite undergraduates. There have been some classes in the last 10 years. One class like that was on positive psychology. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of that class?
No, I haven't.
And it was a class that was so popular that it was taught at the Memorial Hall. Mm-hmm. Had 900 students. It's the most popular class at Harvard.
Wow. And
it was a psychology-oriented class about how to take the positive part of psychology and make life fun. Mm-hmm. I think that the course you're talking about for undergraduates and skills that they could use all their lives could build in skills that would be incredibly useful with the subject matter that they're inevitably going to run into. And I see real possibility. What would you say your or the professor's goals are a little more elaborately?
So our goal is for the trial run of the course, to design a freshman seminar and use that as the lab for testing our various ideas. And based on the results that we get from that freshman seminar, which is going to include both a weekly, 2-hour seminar where you work with the case studies hands-on and have a little bit of supplemental lectures going on. In addition to that, each week you're going to have a supplemental course, which will vary each week in composition. So one week you may go do for example, a walking tour of Boston, looking at various how zoning policies have manifested themselves in the buildings, or looking at various types of recent attempts at at establishing green spaces within the city. So looking at the green green belts versus centralized parks like Boston Common. And so on and so forth, being out in the field basically, as well as supplemental things that we're looking to have this sort of be a very holistic course where there's also going to be components drawing from literature, art, film, maybe even philosophy, thinking about the built environment and how it permeates every aspect of culture. It's not just something to be relegated to the design school or to the business school. It affects all the humanities, and developing an appreciation for the intimate role of the built environment is part of the goal of this of this freshman seminar. And then after that, the goal is to use those results to fine-tune the course, as well as redo the curriculum in order to apply for it to be a general education course because Harvard's recently redone its gen ed program. And so it would be to adjust the course to fit into one of the new categories.
When would you start this proof of concept seminar? In the fall or a year from now?
A year from now.
So you have a year to, even before you start the startup.
Right.
Excellent, because it'll take that long to get it really to get it all built and available for testing.
Exactly.
For example, I mentioned Ron Fleming. He's a world leader in something he calls placemaking, and how to design public spaces and make them really attractive. And he has a project with the Obama administration to pick up on Lady Bird Johnson's Beautification of America, to do a plan for the next 50 years.
Wow.
And he's down working on that, and that's what he's been able to do now that he's recovering. He's recovered from his bout with end-stage renal disease.
Yeah.
But I know that they just cut down the trees in front of Au Bon Pain.
That's right.
And I don't know what they're doing about green space there and how.
Oh, I think it's because they have to get rid of those trees for they're redoing the whole Holyoke Center, right? Because they're building the new campus center, student center there. So that whole zone, because they also cut down all the trees in front of Clover. Because they're going to redo that entire space.
At the Advocate, in 1957, my roommate, Whitney Ellsworth's girlfriend, whom he married, Sally Bingham, wrote a coming-of-age story called Winter Term. And the cover, done in blue by a guy named Willard Majette, the art director, was the front of what at that point was the Hayes Bickford. And that's where the new Clover is going to be, where the Yenching restaurant is.
Oh, that's where the new Clover is going to be.
That's where the new Clover is going to be.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really cool.
And
Clover's my favorite place to eat.
And I went down there last week and had the best sandwich I've ever had from Clover.
Which one?
Which was called the winter tomatoes.
Oh yeah, with
It was flash fried Maine seaweed.
That's right, the seaweed with the spicy mayonnaise.
And then I had a mushroom thing too that was quite excellent.
Yeah, I like the mushroom one as well. Yeah, I go there 3 or 4 times a week.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Well, that's the family company.
Yeah, I remember when I first met you. You mentioned that you helped get that idea off the ground.
What are the ideas? Some more of the ideas for the strategy for the course, in terms of the kind of problems that the case histories are going to tell, some of the hopes for the course, the ideas that you want to seed into the course.
Right. So the narrative that we're going to have for this, the structuring narrative for this freshman seminar is going to be how will technology in the next 50 years influence how office buildings are built? And thinking about how technology is going to, it's going to require reimagining what a large-scale workplace looks like.
Oh my God.
And so the whole first 8 weeks of the course is giving the students the skills for thinking critically about that problem. Yes.
That's wonderful to hear, because as we've mentioned during our 2-hour dinner conversation where we talked about our lives and how we got here, the idea of focusing on how humanity is going to survive the onslaught of technology and using creativity to make a life worth living for everybody. The technology piece of it, the fact that that's going to be a key part of the course, is just wonderful.
So, for example, thinking about you build a large office building, and as of now, people drive to work. They drive their own cars, and so you have to spend $500 million building a parking garage, and thinking about a world where, instead of employees driving their own cars to work, they use an Uber service. So then you don't need to spend $500 million on an underground parking garage. And like how thinking about that, you can just save, if you just use an Uber service, you can just get rid of that initial cost.
Well, exactly. And the idea of the singularity by Ray Kurzweil and the book he's written, and something called Singularity University, which talks about abundance that's coming because of technology, and also has the theme of humanity and creativity. The accelerating rate of change is going to be happening at a pace that none of us can even think about.
Right.
So that by the fall of 2017, when this course gets launched in a beta test or an alpha test even, things will have moved. I understand there will be a billion new cell phones in India.
Yeah, that's right.
In 2017, all stronger than the cell phones we have now. So the idea of self-driving cars and Uber, it's going to have the idea of the paradigm shift that we've been talking about, and your role as a student of philosophy, of Greek, the ancient Greeks, and of Sanskrit, the kinds of paradigm shifts that took place in the ancient world and happened throughout Western civilization and the industrial age, and Newton and Darwin and Einstein and all these things.
Yeah.
It's all going to be taking off. So the course has a fantastic idea. How would you know whether the course, how would you want to be judged whether the course was successful? How would the professor want it to be judged?
I don't know. I think it'd be a combination of the quality of the final projects, and both in terms of how well done the projects are, but also with the excitement and energy that the students put in, because we want the students to be very invested in the class, and that's one of the goals. So it's you take case studies, which is a very cut and dry kind of, it can be a very boring medium, a boring teaching medium. How do you get people to get really excited about the problems in those case studies?
Excellent. So in terms of the implementation, you start small. Can you envision this thing really scaling and being used as a MOOC, or being used around the country, or being used, or do you want to keep it small?
I think maybe at least for the first two, maybe first of all, it depends on the HBS professor's interest in teaching the class again and again. We have to figure out if he wants to have this be a one-time thing where he comes up with a course, he teaches it, he does a good job, or if this will become because he also teaches courses at HBS and is the key player in the real estate.
Who is he?
Arthur Siegel.
Arthur Siegel, Siegel.
That's right. And if he does want to keep teaching the course again, it would be a matter of, we'd have to, based on how the course goes, both in the freshman seminar and then later the Gen Ed trial, whether it would make sense to adjust it to scale up. Because in a way, if you start adding TFs, then you could probably make it a course that, instead of being a 20-person course, it could end up being a 60-person course, 100-person course.
Well, I could certainly see this course with the kind of thinking that you're going to put in the design work and the collaboration that we're talking about with the Whole Brain Foundation and using the Atkinson protocol, that the potential to create the kind of course that is exact antithesis of Trump University.
I think so. I think you could say that.
Pardon?
I think you could say that, yes.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
we're going to give it a shot. I know that you're going to Europe What day are you going to Europe to?
In 8 days.